I come in and see Katie's message. All right, you guys. So let me make sure we got it up. You know what I didn't do? So we are going to continue what we were doing earlier, which is to, hold on, sorry, I didn't do all the subscribers can comment and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so evening jury, jury gallery. Earlier, if you haven't caught up or if you don't know, earlier we watched the testimony, the witness testimony of Naziah's grandmother, as well as Naziah's aunt. Her grandmother's name is Annette Harris. Her aunt's name is Shannon Harris. So we watched their testimony. If you haven't watched my recap, I still advise you to watch that recap just so you have some grounding for who people are, what's going on. Because I didn't include everything in the recap, but you do need some context to kind of like set you up, or else you'll just be confused. Even if I would have to play the whole recap here. So just know that if you haven't saw the recap, that's probably a good idea, or like do a search and read up on it. You just need some context. So again, earlier we watched the grandmother and the aunt, and I told you I would come back so we can watch some of the other testimony. I want to start with Jarvis Butt's business partner. So Jarvis was a mechanic, and he had a business partner by the name of Cordell Wright, who they also called King. And the two of them had a shop in which they worked on cars. And so they'll kind of walk through what happens. But generally speaking, the two of them, Jarvis and King, are at this shop. They leave the shop to go get some parts. And as they are coming back, Jarvis spots Naziah. Of course, there was some exchanging that seems to have set that up. But they spot Naziah. This is the day that she goes missing, the last day that she has been seen. And so this business partner of his is able to testify that, yes, that is who was with us. So that is where we are going to kick off. Let me just get it ready. He is in a jumpsuit, so it looks like he talks a little bit about the fact that he was tethered, which I'm assuming tethered for Detroit is house arrest. That's what it sounds like. So he talks a little bit about being tethered at one point. And he also is in a jumpsuit, so he's clearly in jail right now. I did a search of his name, only his name. I don't know his birthday. A person came up. It does look like it could be him. I'm not sure. It's not related to Naziah's case from what I can see. But again, there are a lot of people who've been following this for a much longer period of time than me. If you are what are people in Detroit called? Detroitian? If you are a resident of Detroit or been following this much closer than I have, because again, I typically stay away from cases with children, but I got a lot of requests about this one. But if you are someone who has been following this more closely and can speak to what Wright is in jail for, obviously, feel free to chime in. Yeah, he was on a tether when the incident happened. Yeah. Wright was on tether, and he'll talk about that when he testifies. Detroiters, that's what they're called. Detroiters. Okay. I don't know any Detroiters, obviously. Oh, everybody knows. All y'all knew that except me. Apparently, I don't know anybody from Detroit. Okay, so let's start with Cordell Wright, who again is the business partner of Jarvis Butts. So here we go.
Stand right here, Mr. Wright. Face the judge. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, don't you? Nothing.
I do.
Watch your step. Do you have his name? Can you spell his first name?
Cordell.
Sorry, Miss Tiff, are you saying that's what Cordell's charges are? Because if so, that is what these are what I looked up when I saw his name. That domestic violence one particularly is what I saw when I did my like criminal search for him. That's what. So is what you're saying in reference to Cordell, right? Yes. Okay. Okay. Then that is the same person I looked up. So if you're in Patreon, maybe I'll show you later. But anyway, thank you for that.
Good morning, Mr. Wright.
Good morning.
And Mr. Wright, do you have a nickname?
Yes.
And what's your nickname?
King.
Is that K-I-N-G?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. How old are you?
37.
When's your birthday?
11/17.
What year?
86.
And Mr. Wright, back in January 2024, were you on an MDOC tether?
Yes, I was.
And what dates were you on tether from?
From March 14th, 23 to March 28th of 24.
And what were your tether restrictions back then?
I could leave the house from 6 in the morning. I had to be back in by 9 p.m.
Mr. Wright, do you know someone named Jarvis?
Yes, I do.
How do you know Jarvis?
I first met him. We worked together at a shop called Frank's, and then we owned the shop together.
And do you see Jarvis in the courtroom today?
No.
Yeah. Would you be able to stand up so you can look around?
Yes. No.
When did you meet Mr. Buck?
2018.
And you said you two worked together initially at a place called Frank's?
Frank's.
All right. Where was Frank's at?
He has a couple locations. He has 7, but the one I met him at was on Warren and Neff.
Warren and Neff. Okay. And what locations of Frank's?
Sorry, I just be trying to give y'all a little bit of context, but I hate interrupting. Anyway, just again, I want to emphasize what he is charged with is not related to this Naziah case. It is unrelated to this case. He is testifying because he was with Jarvis that day, but it's not related to this case. Also, this happened prior to the testimony that we saw earlier, which was of Naziah's aunt and grandmother. This testimony was actually in like December or November of last year. So there was that day, and then there was a long break before they came back and did the rest of the testimony. So if you notice the judge's hair is a little different, just know that this was before the testimony that we already watched. This is like day one.
Did you work at with Mr. Buck?
Warren and Neff.
Yes.
And Mr. Wright, I'm approaching those proposed exhibits 4, 5, and 6. Can you look at these and tell me if you recognize those?
I recognize this one, and this one.
And those are those a fair and accurate depiction of the Frank's Auto Shops? At least 2 of them on Warren and the other one maybe on Harper?
Yes.
Okay. Which is the one that's on Harper?
The last one on the inside.
Okay. And that's People's Exhibit, proposed exhibit 6?
Yes.
Okay. You're not with the admission of People's 4, 5, and 6?
Okay. You'll be admitted as People's Exhibits 4, 5, and 6.
Thank you, Judge. How long did you work at Frank's with Mr. Buck?
A few years.
How many years would you estimate?
2.
And when did that change from Frank's to another shop?
Maybe in 23 sometime.
Okay. Would it be earlier in the year or later in the year?
maybe maybe in May. Well, maybe April, May.
And then where did you guys work then?
We got a shop together on 9,000 Connor.
And what is at 9,000 Connor?
Sicko, a car wash, and our shop was in the middle of both.
Your manager.
Yes.
Great, I'm handing you this marker book for post exhibits 7 and 8. Can you look at those and tell me if you recognize them?
Yes, I don't know.
Okay. And are those a fair and accurate depiction of your shop at 9,000 Connor?
Yes, it is.
And are not with the admission that people's proposed exhibits 7 and 8?
No objection. They've been admitted as people's exhibits 7 and 8.
Thank you. Who was it that you mainly worked with at 9,000 Connor?
I'm sorry,
Who was it that you worked with at 9,000 Connor?
Jarvis.
I want to take you back to when you were working at Frank's with Mr. Butts. Did you ever see Mr. Butts with any children there?
Yes,
And specifically, did you see him with any young girl children?
yes,
And did you know who those were?
yes.
Who were they? Who were they?
His daughter, his niece,
Daughters and niece. What about any boys?
yes.
And who were they?
His sons.
How often would you see him with children there at Frank's?
Sporadically,
And at 9,000 Connor, did you see Mr. Butts with any children then?
yes,
Any girls?
yes.
And who would they be?
His daughter,
And what about any boys?
yes.
Who would they be?
His sons.
And how often would you see him with children at 9,000 Connor?
Sporadic.
And as it relates to this case, it's fair to say that you spoke with Detroit police a few times,
Yes, about 4.
about 4 times. Okay. That first time that you talked to Detroit police, do you recall about when that was?
The first time was the day before Valentine's Day, so like February 13th.
February 13th, and is that of 2024?
Yes,
All right. And at that time, were you presented with a jail call?
yes.
Okay. And who was that jail call with?
Jarvis,
Okay. And who was he talking to?
me,
All right. And what was the topic of that jail call?
he called to ask would I receive a cell phone out of a truck for him.
And were you familiar with what truck he was asking you to get it from?
Yes.
What truck was that?
It was a Z71 Chevy Suburban.
And did you know who that truck belonged to?
Yeah, his baby mom or somebody he was dealing with.
And do you recall listening to that jail call?
Yeah, I recall.
Okay. If I would move to admit the jail call from, I believe it's February 8th, 2024, between Mr. Wright and Mr. Jarvis Butts.
I'll be quick, only because I did have it. I had it on 1.25 because the earlier people were talking slow. But a little bit, if you weren't sure what was happening, they're about to play a jail call that is between Cordell Wright, this man, and Jarvis Butts after Jarvis is in jail. So he basically calls him and asks him to get his phone. So that is what she was asking him. Do you remember listening to this call? That is essentially the setup here. And now they're going to go into playing the call. It's going to be a bunch of fluff in the beginning. And then Jarvis kind of chimes in like, I forgot to ask you, can you get my phone for me? So that's essentially what's about to happen.
Any objection? No objection. What's the exhibit number on that?
Sorry, that's exhibit number 1.
It will be admitted as people's exhibit 1.
Thank you, Judge. And may I
any co-hosts?
Thank you, Judge. And for the record, I am playing People's Exhibit 1.
That's it.
This is a one-time free 3-minute call from an inmate at Lee County Jail. Your phone does not accept collect calls. This call has been provided by Helmet as a courtesy for friends and family. You cannot receive additional calls from this inmate until you call repeated. We can take your credit or debit card information over the phone and connect you immediately back to your phone. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. Press 1 to accept all communications from this. Thank you for using Helmet.
My guy, what's up, man?
Not shit, man. What's happening?
Not shit, man. How you feeling? My bad, I missed your call. I was working like a motherfucker.
I figured they said you was up there banging, said something banging.
Yeah, you know it.
What's up, my nigga? Who is that, son? What's up, boy?
You know it.
Hey, shit. Man, I'm calling, man. You busy put my money on my fucking books, bro.
Oh, yeah, take a minute for them to put that shit on there. Even if you walk in with it, man, they be playing it crazy.
Yeah, man.
I swear to God. They do that with machine and shit. You show you straight, you need something. I mean, I'm getting a couple hours for that,
Yeah, I have money on my books, nigga. I came in with money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they put this shit on my hookup. I was looking for the tablet. I get come up $0. That's some bullshit.
That shit crazy.
Yeah.
How is it, though?
Man, that's some bullshit. I'm really gonna be quarantined on this whole shit, bro.
Oh, yeah, they got you on that quarantine club for how long? 3 days?
I don't know how long, nigga. Shit, I'm about to be the only one in this bitch on my part.
You say, what happened?
I said, shit, I'm about to be the only one. Remember, me and me young enough in this motherfucker, you want these up in this bitch.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
What you need?
Huh?
No, I was trying to tell you what that customer needs. Man, listen. You straight?
Yeah, my nigga.
Huh?
So yeah, I'm good, oh, shit, yeah. You got Tasha number, right?
Yeah.
So, Dig, I'm gonna need you to call her one thing, nigga, and get that truck up there, nigga. Get my phone out there back seat, bro.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I'm going to get the truck up there. What tell her?
Tell her you gonna, you fuck around and lost a car that there too when we was moving the, radio
Okay.
on the seat.
All right. It would.
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
Reach my hand that back seat.
Where? Yeah.
So you reach behind that back seat, bro. The box right there. Straight behind the middle of that back seat, bro.
Okay, under it or in the back or in the back
In
thing?
the back, right in the back of the seat, bro.
Okay.
On the second row.
I got what I need the key. You know you took the key. You took the key to the gate.
It's the same key.
I don't got that key to it.
Yeah, you do. It's the same key to the lock and the door.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah, it's the same key, bro.
Now, you know I got you. I'll put the money on the phone later, man. When I get around, baby, I will put the credit card. You?
If I said you need them on that, I told my wife and have her break up the tea.
No, I don't need it though. If you said the same one, I got it. So I don't need it right now anyway. Just when I get the scrap out of there.
Okay.
And Mr. Wright, were you successful in getting that cell phone from the vehicle like Mr. Bud asked you to?
She came up there, but no, I wasn't successful. It wasn't there.
Wasn't there? Okay.
When we say she, who you referring to?
Tasha,
And who's Tashi that you know of?
his baby mom.
Okay. Did you look for it in the vehicle?
Yeah, I looked for it.
Okay. And you were unsuccessful at finding it?
Yes.
And Mr. Wright, I want to talk to you now about the second time that you were speaking speaking with different police. Was it he heard that it was just a couple days after your first time?
It was not long, a few weeks maybe. I was off tether at that point, I believe.
And do you recall talking about fixing a red Jaguar and going to Ypsilanti?
Yes, I do.
Tell me about how many times did you and Mr. Butts go to Ypsilanti?
I believe it was either 2 or 3.
All right. And how did that come about? Whose red Jaguar is this?
My son's grandma.
Your son's friend.
So she called, said she was having some problems with it and asked if we would come look at it, which is not unusual. We do house calls depending on the person and where it's located, but this is my son's grandma, so of course we're gonna make the exception. She called and said she was having problems with the car, asked if we would come look at it. We went, assessed the car at her house the first time. I think we made a minor repair there, not to the extent that it was the problem that she was having after the fact.
Okay. So where is this red Jaguar located when you guys go out to see it?
It's in my son's grandma's driveway in Ypsilanti, off Michigan Avenue, I believe.
All right. And who goes with you out there that first time?
Jarvis?
Okay. It's just you and Jarvis Butts?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys go out there and you assess, make a minor repair.
Yeah.
Does it completely fix the car?
For that problem, yes.
Okay. And then is there another time that you end up having to do work on this red Jaguar?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that.
She drove the Jaguar for a while. It was doing fine. And then she said it was leaking something. I asked her what it was leaking. She said she didn't know. I asked her if she could get it towed to the shop. She said, yeah.
Okay. So at some point, this red Jaguar gets towed to your shop at 9000 Connor?
Yes.
Okay. And who works on it at 9000 Connor?
Me and Jarvis.
Okay. And what do you do when you finish fixing? Do you ever finish fixing the red Jaguar?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you do when you finish fixing it?
We take it back to her. I called her first and asked her how she was planning on retrieving the vehicle. She said she was going to tow it, and I didn't want to cost her no more money, so I told her that we could bring it.
Okay. And do you recall if that was on or about January 9th of 2024?
It was on.
It was on that day?
Yes.
Okay. So on that day, before you take the red Jaguar back, who was, tell me about how that day started for you.
I woke up. I typically leave the house at 6 because that's what time I could leave. So I went to the gym. I got to the shop probably around 8:30. I don't know who opened the shop. I can't really recall which one of us opened it, but Jarvis may have been there already. A few cars came in, then the Jaguar probably got there maybe around 9 o'clock. I assessed the Jaguar. Jarvis left for a moment. I had another mechanic, being it's a foreign car, so I had a foreign car mechanic on call to help with the work, but he was busy, so he came. Said he wouldn't have time to do it, so I think I Googled it, seen how it was done, and I proceeded taking the water pump off.
Okay. So you're working on the Jaguar, and is Mr. Buck at work that day?
Yes, he was there.
Okay. What do you guys being you and Mr. Butts, do as it relates to work on the night?
I think we had a few cars that came in that needed some minor repairs. Between that and the Jaguar, we was jumping in and out of the Jaguar job, and the cars that pulled up, maybe oil change, tune up, whatever, et cetera, so forth was. But we was mainly working on the Jaguar, trying to get the water pump off, as it is a hard job to do.
Okay. And do you always have all of your parts on stock or on your person in stock with you?
No, we call either AutoZone, Mansfield, one of the auto stores that has them.
Okay. And did you have to go get any auto parts on January 9th?
Yes, we had to go get the water pump for the Jaguar, as well as some other parts, I believe, for other cars.
Okay. And when you go and get parts, is it usually just one of you, both of you, or something else?
That depending. If it's a car there, then one of us will stay. If it's not a car there, we go together sometimes.
Okay. And on January 9th of 2024, did you guys, did one of you guys go to the auto parts store or did you both go?
We both went.
Both went? Okay. Tell me what happens when you go to the auto parts store.
Before that, I called them. They ordered the water pump, so we went and picked it up when they called and said it was in. We got in the truck, went to AutoZone, got the water pump. On our way back from AutoZone, I believe we forgot something, so we ended up turning back around, going back to AutoZone, grabbed whatever we forgot, came back, and on our way back, we was coming down Harper. Jarvis said, "I see my niece right there. She walking." We pulled into Angel's liquor store. I still didn't see her. He pointed across my face, said she right there. She was coming across the street at that time. She got in the truck with us. She spoke, "Hi King, hi Jay," and we proceeded back to the shop.
Okay. So, when you guys are driving to these auto parts stores, who's driving?
Jarvis,
Okay, and where are you at?
passenger seat.
Okay. And you said when you guys are heading back to the shop the second time,
Mhm.
That's when you said Jarvis spots someone?
Yes,
Who does he say that he spots?
his niece.
His niece, okay. And do you recognize his niece?
Yes, when I see her, when he pointed her out to me, yes, I recognize her walking across the street.
Okay. And so you guys pull over. Where does she get into the car at?
I believe she getting behind me, so the back seat behind me.
Okay. Does Jarvis say anything to her?
Yeah, she speaks to both of us, and we speak back.
Okay. What does he say to her?
I don't want to treat this like my recap, but I just want to make sure that we're all following. So what has happened is King is working on his son's grandmother's red Jaguar. Okay, so that's what's happened. He has this vehicle at the shop that he and Jarvis are working on. They have to go to AutoZone to get a part for that foreign car that he's Googling how to fix. As they're driving back, what he just said is, as we're driving back, Jarvis says, "There goes my niece. She's walking on the street." Basically, she had gotten off that bus. If you watch the recap, you know she had gotten off that bus and was walking. As they're driving back, he spots her and says, "There goes my niece." And so what King just said is we essentially pulled over to pick her up, to pick up Naziah. She gets in the car. And again, this is the day she goes missing. This is January 9th, 2024. So these are the moments in which people last see Naziah and see her with Jarvis. And he just said, Jarvis said, "This is my niece." Okay. I just want to make sure we're all clear and following what's.
And where do you guys go after you pick up his niece?
Back to the shop.
Okay, and that's at 9,000 Connors?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you guys do when you get back to 9,000 Connors?
He back in. We get out. We proceed to working on the Jaguar. I may have got out the car first with the parts, and he was in the car with her for a second. I got out, started working on the Jaguar.
And what happens next? What do you guys do?
I believe she get out, get into the front seat, reposition herself to the front seat of his truck. It was colder that day. I believe she started the truck. We started working on the Jaguar, putting the parts back on. It took a little minute. Like I said, it was a difficult job, so it took a while. At some point, I believe his truck ran out of gas, so we had to stop what we were doing to push his truck to the gas pump so he could get some gas.
So you said that she gets out of the car that you guys were in?
Yes.
Okay, and then she gets into Jarvis's truck?
No. We was always in Jarvis' truck.
Okay.
So she gets out the back seat and repositions herself to the front seat so she can start the cover.
And tell me, what kind of car, or what kind of truck does Jarvis drive?
Escalade.
Okay. And what color?
It's pearl white.
What, if you can see, what is the niece doing, while you guys are working on the shop, at the shop?
I believe she's on her cell phone, I believe.
Does Jarvis ever, take his niece anywhere that, like, while you guys are working at the shop?
No.
No, okay. Did you ask him, if he was gonna take her home at all?
I believe I asked him was he gonna drop her off when the truck ran out of gas. We had to push it to the pump. It was just a distraction from work, so I asked was he gonna drop her off. He said no.
And did you finish working on the Jaguar that day?
Yes.
Okay. And what happens after you finish up on the Jaguar?
I called my son grandma and asked her how she was gonna retrieve the vehicle. She said she was gonna tow it back. I told her she didn't have to do that. That was just spending extra money. So I asked Jarvis, was it all right if we dropped it off? He said yes. And we started making preparations to do so.
Do you recall about what time you guys finished the Jaguar and prepared to leave?
Probably around 7:30ish, somewhere around there.
When do you guys eventually leave the shop?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about who all leaves the shop?
Me, Jarvis, and his niece.
Okay. And tell me about the driving arrangements.
So I drove my 300 and Jarvis drove the Jaguar.
And where was his niece at?
She was with him in the front seat of the Jaguar.
Now, are you able to recall what his niece looked like that day?
Yes. Faintly, but yes.
Do you remember what kind of clothing she was wearing?
I remember she had a jacket on. Like I said, a coat. It was cold, so I think it was colorful.
Colorful?
Yeah.
May I approach?
Yes.
And Mr. Wright, I'm approaching you with People's Proposed Exhibit 2. And I'm going to direct you to the top left corner. Can you tell me, is there anything that you recognize in that?
The jacket in Channel 1.
Okay. And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the jacket that you've seen his niece, Jarvis's niece, wearing that day?
Yes.
Okay. And I move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 2.
Any objection? Objection. Will be admitted as People's Exhibit 2.
Thank you. And
I have daughters and I obviously am a daughter, and I was never around grown men by myself. It just didn't happen. I just never, if it was not my father, I just was never around grown men by myself like that. So mindful. 12 years old.
I'm going to show you your man approach. And then showing you its Market Fields Proposed Exhibit 3. Do you recognize what I just handed you?
Yes.
Thanks. And is that a fair and accurate depiction of Jarvis's niece as you remember seeing her back on January 9th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And is that the same niece that went with you to Ypsilanti?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And I move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 3.
No objection. Okay, it'll be admitted as People's Exhibit 3.
Thank you. So So you guys are driving to Ypsilanti. You said you're driving in your 300 and Jarvis is driving the Jaguar with his niece.
Yes.
Okay. About how long does it take you guys to get to Ypsilanti?
It was raining that day, so about 35 minutes.
And when you get to Ypsilanti, what do you do?
We get out, we park the car, get out, we go in. My son's grandma and I believe his auntie was there as well, so they greeted us. They, they'd spoken to him before, so they greet him. And then my son, grandma asked who the little girl was.
And did you introduce the little girl?
No,
Okay. Who introduced the little girl?
Jarvis did.
And what did Jarvis introduce her as?
His niece.
And about how long do you guys stay in Ypsilanti?
Not long, maybe 15 minutes or so. My son, auntie had to go get the rest of our money that my son, grandma didn't have, so she went to the ATM.
What do you guys do once you went to the ATM?
Talking.
Okay.
She was just telling us about other work she needed to do around her house, etc., so on and so forth.
And was Mr. Bucks with you the whole time?
Yes.
So you guys eventually leave Ypsilanti.
Yes.
And tell me about the driving arrangements coming or leaving Ypsilanti.
At this point, we only have one vehicle, which is mine. We get in, Jarvis in the front. I believe Naziah sat behind me.
Is that behind you?
Yes.
Okay. So and is there any kind of talking or conversation when you guys are driving?
No, I got sounds in my car, so no.
And do you recall about what time you guys, where do you guys go when you leave Ypsilanti?
Back to 9,000 Connors.
Okay. And do you recall about what time you guys get back to 9,000 Connors?
Probably around 8:45. I was cutting it close on the tether.
What do you do when you get back to 9,000 Connors?
Opened up the shop door where he left. He left his truck in one of the bays, so we opened up that bay door, went through the gas station because that's the way we entered the shop. Went through the gas station, opened the shop, opened one of the bay doors. I went to the back and started splitting the money that we had made for the day, and separating the receipts, etc.
Where do you see his niece go?
Getting in this truck,
Do you recall where at his truck she got into?
passenger seat,
Is that front passenger, back passenger, or something else?
front passenger.
And where's Mr. Buck at?
Back in the back with me, separating the cash.
And when you leave, do you lock up the shop?
No, I left first.
You left first. Okay. So when you leave, who's still at the shop?
Jarvis and his niece.
Do you see them leave the shop at all?
No.
And have you seen, or have you seen Jarvis's niece, the one that was with you on the 9th? Have you seen her since January 9th, 2024?
No.
Now I want to talk about the day after that you guys went to FC, so January 10th. Do you recall if Mr. Bucks was at work that day?
I don't think he was.
What makes you think that he wasn't?
I believe he called me like 3 times, 4 times. No reason for him to call me if he was standing right next to me.
No response.
So I don't think he's speculating, so he must go to police.
Can you ask the question? Re-ask the question.
Yes. So you said that you don't believe he was at work because he would call you, or he called you so often?
He called me. We had a 30-minute conversation on one account, and then we had another conversation about 15 minutes. So
So that makes you believe in your mind that he was at the shop misleading.
What's the question first?
That's based on those conversations, in his mind to him, that means that Mr. Butts was not at the shop with him. I don't think that's leading.
It's stating a conclusion.
The city already stated that he wasn't at the shop. So I'll overrule.
Thank you. You can answer.
One more time, I'm sorry.
Sorry. So based on the length of those phone calls, and the times of them, did that make you believe that Mr. Butts was not at the shop?
Right.
Did Jarvis Butts ever mention to you about his niece being missing?
No.
Have you talked to Mr. Butts, aside from that jail call that we played, since turning himself in?
No.
And do you know someone, do you know any of Jarvis's siblings?
Yes.
And which sibling do you know?
I met his brother and I met his sister.
You talked to his sister, well, start that. Do you remember would his sister ever come to the shop?
Sporadically.
Sporadically, okay. And are there times that you talk to her?
Yes.
Okay. And you talked to her about Jarvis's niece being missing?
After the police questioned me, I believe she came up there and we spoke about it, yes.
And Mr. Wright, I asked you earlier about if you'd seen Mr. Butts in the courtroom, so that you couldn't see him.
Yes.
Fair? Okay. Your name, I wrote.
Yes.
And I'm showing you People's Proposed Exhibit 9. Can you tell me if you recognize that photo?
Yes.
And who is it in that photo?
Jarvis.
Okay. Next, Jarvis Butts.
Yes.
Okay. Now we'll for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 9.
Exhibit as People's Exhibit 9.
Thank you.
I just want to be clear. I have a pinned comment about Cordell Wright. People are saying, and I haven't confirmed, okay, but people are saying that he is in jail for domestic violence against on a pregnant woman. Okay, I searched his name, just generally trying to search it before. And is this what I need? I'm just going to show. I don't know if this is him because this could be like defamation. I don't know if this is him. I searched Cordell Wright in that county to see if there was a record that would show. One did. Okay, so I don't know if this is him, but is it showing for y'all? Hold on. You see there is domestic violence, there's some larceny, domestic violence, third offense notice. Okay, so that could be what he is in jail for. I don't know for sure. And that's why somebody posted that like domestic violence cases hold you in a particular jail. If you know that jail, send it back in the chat and I will look it up, obviously. But I don't know. But what I do know is that he is not in jail related to Naziah. Okay. He is not in jail. The business partner, not in jail related to Naziah. Okay. That's where we are. I just want to clarify that because I think men should check other men if it seems weird that they're around a child, and you feel uneasy, you should check that man. But that's not to say that he did anything to Naziah, was there for it. That's not what is happening. And I just want to be clear.
And Mr. Wright, I kind of want to direct your attention back to people's proposed exhibit 3, people's exhibit 3, I'm sorry. Can you see it from here where I'm holding it?
Yes.
Okay, and do you know who this person in this photo is now?
Yes.
Okay. And who do you know her as now?
Naziah.
And the next time that you see Jarvis Bus after January 9th, 2024, do you see any injuries on him?
Back again, just because this was a question that kept coming up. I'm back again. So that looks like the man on the stand. Okay, this is Cordell, right? This looks like the man on the stand. Okay, let's scroll a little bit. Active. Okay, this is prison sentence. Active. Sentence 1, domestic violence and or knowingly assaulting pregnant individual, 3rd offense. Okay, so that's where people are saying this pregnancy. Here we go. All right. Okay, he's been sentenced. Minimum is 1 year, a year and a half. Maximum is 5 years. The date it happened is July of 2019. Date of sentence is 2021. So he is, if he's in jail, 21. Yeah, but so he's been in there already for 21, 22, 23, 24, 3.5 years or so. So he's already been in there for a couple years. But okay, we clear? That is why he is in this jumpsuit. Not related to Naziah, but obviously he got his own situation that he is probably not the best person to be around Naziah. We clear? We good? I'm taking it back. I just didn't want, I don't be liking to spread, no misinformation or wrong information at all. Okay. Especially if we can find it. If I can find it and actually post it, I'd rather do that. All right, here we go.
No, I don't believe I've seen it.
Really further, Judge.
Okay, Rob?
Thank you.
Adding it one more time. Sorry, because somebody said, well, how was he out when Naziah went missing? So he probably had, that actually makes more sense. It sounds like he had a probation violation. I should have kept scrolling. So he had probation and it looks like probation revoked. Yeah. Okay. Probation violator, technical violation. It seems like every time he gets on probation, he violates. Discharge date, discharge without improvement. So it looks like he had discharge without improvement. I'm going to show you one more time. I should have kept scrolling down. We could have did this all in one go. Okay. All these dang on things. So this is we're still on, let's scroll up, still on Cordell Robinson, right? His middle name is Robinson. What you see as you scroll down is probation sentences, right? Active, he has none. So he was sentenced, it looked like in 2004, it was revoked, sentenced in another one in 2008, probation violator, technical violation, sentenced and that was domestic violence. And sentence 3, it looks like for marijuana, that was 2005, offender discharged. He got a firearms charge. It looks like technical violation. And then season 5. Sentence 5, assault with dangerous weapon, 2008, technical violation. And then this one is the one, it looks like that's most recent. It says domestic violence and or knowingly assaulting pregnant individual. That's the one that we just referenced, right? It looks like it was July 3rd, that same date. So he was sentenced on 2020, but it looks like October of 2021, which is when he started that sentence that we just showed you, right? And it looks like discharge without improvement. So I don't know if that's an actual violation or maybe he had another charge. I'm not really sure what exactly that means, but those dates match up. So it looks like his probation in some form or fashion was revoked. And so he started this jail sentence on October of 2021. Does that make sense? We are completely pivoting because he is not the lead character in this case. He is not the main person. His charges are completely unrelated to Naziah, but because I saw a lot of people questioning it, I just wanted to be clear about it. So let's now get back to Naziah.
Good morning, Sheree.
Good morning.
You said that, I believe, in your testimony that you have known Mr. Butts since about 2018, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you said you met at Frank's, the shop that you looked at.
That's correct.
And you said you guys worked together at Frank's for about 2 years?
That's correct.
And so that means in about 2020, you opened up the shop on Connor?
No, in 2021, I went to prison.
Okay.
So that's why we didn't work together for that period of time.
And
But
so you came back
I came back and we went back to the same thing.
at Frank's?
Yes,
And then what year was that?
that was 2023.
Okay. And so then how long after you came back were you, the two of you at Frank's together?
Maybe a few months to maybe like the middle of the year. So maybe around either June. It was before summer, so maybe around April. It was still a little cold outside.
Okay. So like early spring
Yeah.
of 2023 is when you said that you think that you opened up the shop at 9 o'clock?
Yes, it could have been earlier than that, but yes, around about.
And so you became business partners?
Yes,
Did you get the business partners?
yes,
Okay. You also consider Mr. Butts a friend at that point?
yes.
As far as the business arrangement, you said it was a 50-50 split. Did you split it every day at the end of the day? Or?
Every day at the end of the day.
Now back around the beginning of 2024, maybe the end of 2023, were you seeing a woman in Clinton Township?
A woman in Clinton Township.
Yes. A friend of a woman named Shannon Harris?
In 24?
Yes.
No.
Or ever?
Yes.
When were you seeing her?
It probably was 2000 and maybe 19 or 20
So before you went,
before I went to prison.
okay. Did you and Mr. Butts ever have a falling out about that?
No.
Now you and Mr. Butts, did you talk about your personal lives?
Sometimes, yes,
You just spent good days at work together, right?
Right.
So presumably it came up,
of course,
talk about girlfriends.
of course.
Did women often come to the shop looking for Mr. Butts?
Sporadically,
Did he talk to you about the various women that he would be seeing? Or juggling, maybe?
that happened.
Did it sometimes cause drama in the shop?
It happens.
would come up and confront Mr. Butts,
It happens.
maybe about other women that he was seeing?
Happens.
Did you ever feel like that was affecting the business?
Not at Frank's.
What about at the business that you own with Connor?
No, it didn't happen as much there.
Didn't happen as much in Connor?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, got a call to rewind because it sounded like there was a issue with the girlfriends. And I was reading, so I missed it.
So before you went,
Before I went to prison.
okay. Did you and Mr. Butts ever have a falling out about that?
No.
Now you and Mr. Butts, did you talk about your personal life? And that would be the end of 2023. Were you seeing a woman in Clinton Township?
A woman in Clinton Township.
Yes. A friend of a woman named Shannon Harris?
In 24?
Yes.
No.
Or ever?
Yes.
When were you seeing her?
It probably was 2000 and maybe 19 or 20.
So before you went,
Before I went to prison.
okay. Did you and Mr. Butts ever have a falling out about that?
No.
Now you and Mr. Butts, did you talk about your personal lives?
Sometimes, yes.
You just spent good days at work together, right?
Right.
So presumably it came up,
Of course.
talk about girlfriends.
Of course.
Did women often come to the shop looking for Mr. Butts?
Sporadically.
Did he talk to you about the various women that he would be seeing? Or juggling, maybe?
That happened.
Did it sometimes cause drama at the shop?
It happens.
Women would come up and confront Mr. Butts,
It happens.
maybe about other women that he was seeing?
Happens.
Did you ever feel like that was affecting the business?
Not at Frank's.
What about at the business that you own with Connor?
No, it didn't happen as much there.
Didn't happen as much in Connor?
Right.
Okay. Now, sometime, I guess, while the two of you were working together, you had a friend that was, I guess, talking to or trying to date one of Mr. Butts' daughters. Is that correct?
That happened.
The daughter was 21, 22,
She was.
correct? I guess, talking to or trying to date one of Mr. Butts' daughters. You had a friend that was, I guess, talking to or trying to date one of Mr. Butts' daughters. Is that correct?
That happened.
The daughter was 21, 22.
She was somewhere around there. I'm not 100% certain, but yeah, around that age, 20, 21, 22.
And that caused an issue for Mr. Butts.
It did.
He got pretty upset with his friend.
It did. I was in prison at the time, so, but yes, I was involved directly.
Did you ever hear about an altercation that happened between the two of them?
Some kind of altercation did occur, yes.
Hold on. Okay, so we can be clear that it was Shannon's friend. King dated a friend of Shannon. Shannon is the baby mother of Jarvis. But what he just said is that King had a friend who was trying to date Jarvis's 21-year-old daughter. So if the friend is around the age of King, that means he's around all these men like children, young people.
Was it your impression that Mr. Butts was pretty protective of her
Yeah,
based on that?
based on that.
Do you know how many children Mr. Butts has?
13?
And you said that some of them would come to the shop.
Yes, that happened.
You're familiar with them?
Yeah.
And I can ask you to name everyone, all of them, but at the shop in Connor, you said his sons would come,
His son will come sometimes and stay today with us.
and his daughter.
She'll come sometimes and stay today with us.
And what's her name? Do you recall?
Now I don't want to misname it.
Okay.
I think it's someone with a J or something like that, though, but I'm not 100% certain.
Was she like a teenager?
He has a teenager. She come up there sometime, but not really. The littlest one, maybe 9, 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there.
Okay. And then his niece would also come?
Yes.
Would she come typically with his own children?
When I first met her, yes, that's how I met her with his daughter. She would always come with his daughter. They would come up there sometimes to get air in their tires, maybe money, just typical kid stuff.
Did he ever, or did the two of you ever have them like doing chores around the shop?
Sometimes.
Did Mr. Buzz talk to you about his children?
Yes.
Did you talk about spending time with them?
Yes, I believe he lived with the majority of them.
And you said that, you mentioned Tasha, she's one of the mothers of some of his children,
Yes.
correct? Is that who he was living with at the time?
No, I don't believe so.
Now, you said, I believe in your testimony, that you had been to Ypsilanti twice with Mr. Butts. Is that,
Or 3 times, one of the.
it possibly could have been 3.
It could have possibly been 3. I'm not 100% certain.
Now, one of the times that his niece was at the shop was, you said, on January the 9th.
First time I seen her by herself, yes.
That's because you have a picture up on Harper.
Yes.
Did Mr. Butts seem surprised that he saw her?
I'm not sure. I couldn't really, we was riding. I wasn't really paying attention to his expression. He just said, "Hey, there go my niece." I didn't see her, so he pointed her out to me. And
at that time, you only knew her as his niece, correct?
Yes.
You didn't have any idea what her name was at that time?
No.
And in fact, the reason you learned her name was when you identified that picture that was just shown to you and the police told you what her name was. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Now, in the time that you were at the shop on the 9th with Mr. Butts and his niece, did you see any inappropriate behavior or anything that made you raise your eyebrows between the two of them?
No.
What about any of the other times that his niece would have been there at the shop? Did you ever see any behavior that made you question or thought was inappropriate?
I can't say I have.
Now, the 3 of you rode back from Ypsilanti on January 9th. That was your testimony, right?
Yes.
Was there any conversation between Mr. Butts and his niece in the car?
There was no conversation between really nobody. I had the music on.
And I'm going to back up to earlier in the day when the 3 of you came to the shop the first time after you picked her up on Harper.
Okay.
You said that she pretty much stayed in Mr. Butts' car the whole time?
Yes.
She said she was on her phone.
Yes.
Did you ever leave the shop at all after that before you guys went to Ypsilanti?
Maybe in the gas station.
So not really, just the attached gas station?
Yeah, maybe to the gas station. I'm not sure if I actually physically left the building. I'm not sure.
Would it have been for more than like 5 or 10 minutes?
If I ever left, no, maybe to use the bathroom, so maybe 10 minutes tops if I had to leave.
You never went out to grab parts at any place that you can recall?
Not that I can recall.
Now, after January 9th, what was the next time you said that you saw Mr. Butts?
The 11th.
The 11th. Okay, he was not at work on the 10th?
No.
Okay. Were you there on time on the 10th, do you recall?
I'm never on time.
What time did you come in on the 10th?
Probably about 8:40. I go to the gym, so we open at 8, but I'm never there at 8. So I probably got there maybe 8:49.
And on the 10th, were you the one that opened the shop?
Yes.
I think it's called community advocate.
Now, you were aware at that time that Mr. Butts was supposed to turn himself in and serve a jail sentence at William County Jail. That's
You-
correct.
Yes, I am.
You have talked about that, obviously, because he was gonna have to leave the business for a while.
Correct.
Okay. And you actually went to the courthouse on the day he turned himself in to support him, right?
Yes, I was there.
And he was gonna be serving time on a gun possession charge, is that right?
That's correct.
If you know.
That's correct.
Okay. And because you were kind of paying attention to what was happening, you understood that the court date had gotten changed a few times.
Yeah, he told me that it had changed. So I believe he was supposed to get sentenced on the 9th, but it got pushed back to February the 7th. So I learned that through him. I didn't go to court with him that time, but just when he got sentenced, I went to court with him that time.
Just breaking in again really quickly, what they're talking about is Jarvis was expected to be turning himself in and being sentenced on January 9th, which is the day that Naziah goes missing. I think that this is an important part to this story because he was expecting to go to jail for a period of time, okay? And at this point, Naziah is saying she is pregnant. And at this point, if she first told him, I may be jumping ahead if you haven't like watched some of the recap, but if she had told him back in October, November that she's pregnant, and now here we are in January and she's still asking for Plan B pills and all of that, she is a good 3 or so, months pregnant. And if he is going to go to jail for a period of time, that means she will only continue to get more and more pregnant as he is in jail. So this, I think, is another key component to the story. What King is talking about is it was supposed to happen on January 9th, but then that date got pushed to February 7th, I think it was. So that's what he is just talking about right here. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but I think an important piece and context for the story.
Are you familiar with any court dates that he had out in Clinton Township around that time?
He did say he had something going on with his daughter, I believe. I believe it was domestic with his daughter of some sort. So yeah, I was familiar with that, I believe.
Was he going to court for that at that same time?
Around about, I believe it was supposed to be, yes.
Now you got involved because at some point you became aware that the Detroit police wanted to talk to you back in February.
They came to the shop and picked me up
Okay, they actually took you on.
to headquarters.
Okay, and that was the first time on February 13th, is that right?
That was February 13th, day before Valentine's.
Then you said you spoke with them again a couple days later.
Yes, I believe the first time I spoke with him, I was still on tether, so it had to be sometime after I was on tether. Yeah.
And then you spoke with them again in March, right?
Yes.
And was that a phone conversation?
No. All of our conversations was via person.
Okay. And then a couple weeks ago, did you also speak with the police
Yes.
and the prosecutors?
I don't know if a prosecutor, but yes, I believe she was.
As far as you can remember?
Yes.
Now, in February, when you were talking to the police, by that time, had you seen anything on the news or on social media about who you later learned was Mr. Butt's niece?
No.
So at the time you were interviewed by the police, you didn't know anything about?
No.
Okay. And at the time that you were talking to the police, while you were on tether in February, you were on tether because you were on parole, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you had about 3 weeks left on parole at that point.
Not 3 weeks. In February,
Yes.
I had 3 weeks left on tether. I got off actual parole in May.
Okay. So the tether was coming off, but you were still gonna have to report.
3 more at once after
Okay.
the tether came off.
And in February, I believe it was the second conversation that you had with a detective, presumably, you and the officer or the detective spoke about the tether, right? Do you recall that?
I believe so, yes.
Because you were concerned every time you would go somewhere, you would be late, you were very
Oh,
about
yeah,
being
yes.
home on time.
Right.
And in fact, he actually said, hey, we'll take care of you if anything pops up, right?
He said, I talked to your PO, so you're fine.
Okay. And he also kind of warned you that you didn't want to get somebody upset about the way you were answering his questions, and have somebody feel some kind of way about you. Do you recall him saying that to you?
He may have said something to that extent. I'm not sure though. This is the first conversation or the second you asked me
The
about.
second, right at the top of the conversation.
I can't really recall every word. I know they were a little agitated. I was a little agitated. It was a lot going on, so maybe
It's possible that conversation.
it's possible.
Did you understand any of his statements while you're talking to him, to mean that the police wanted you to give answers, and if you didn't give answers, that they could mess with your parole or your tether status?
Also speculation, Judge,
It goes to his state of mind.
that he doesn't know what happened.
It's about what he believes might happen and could impact what he said.
Speculation is to rephrase it as far as what they actually asking.
Was it your understanding that if you didn't give certain answers, that the police might impact your parole or your tether status? Was that a concern of yours?
I mean, it was already affecting my tether, so I wasn't really, you know what I mean, concerned about how he placed his questions upon me. No. So I mean, more of the concern was my being picked up by the police. Police contact is a violation of parole within itself. So I was violated for the police contact, irregardless to whatever he was saying. You get what I mean? So no, I don't believe it impacted anything at all, actually.
But your parole wasn't actually revoked because they took you to the station and interviewed you, right?
No.
Now, we talked a little bit about this a few minutes ago. Mr. Butts was juggling a few different women during the time you knew him.
Yes.
And it was hard to keep up with all his baby mamas
I mean, yeah, it wasn't my job, so yeah.
and ladies that weren't his baby mamas.
Right.
Did you get the impression from Mr. Butts that he didn't want these women to know about each other?
Of course.
And a woman named Tasha was one of Mr. Butts' ladies,
Yes.
and that was one of his baby mamas.
Yes. To my belief, yes.
So there was some discussion about a phone call between you and Mr. Butts while he was at the jail about his phone, right?
Yes.
And after that phone conversation, Tasha actually came into the shop to get some work done on the car,
Yes, she came to get a oil change in a headlight.
and that's when you went and kind of looked for the phone.
Yes.
Now, you didn't really want Tasha to know that you were looking for the phone, right?
Of course not.
And the reason for that was,
She's gonna wonder why I'm looking for a phone.
and was it your impression that Mr. Butts was afraid it would reveal that he was talking to other women,
Of course.
and so you're trying to help him keep
Cool.
peace?
Of course.
Thanks. I think testimony was on the 9th, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was an issue during the day. Mr. Butts had his escalator there, is that correct?
Yes.
And he had run out of gas,
Yes.
and he had to get gas, is that right?
That's correct.
And some way you pushed him to the, or helped push the escalator to a gas pump.
Yes.
Do you recall leaving with him that night and going and getting gas together?
For his truck, or what we saying? Or for like a gas can? What do you?
Well, either one. Did you all leave the shop to, and perhaps you in your vehicle and he in his vehicle and end up at a gas station
No,
on the 9th?
No.
You don't have any recollection of that?
I don't remember that. No.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
You redirect?
That's why I had it on 1.25 because they be talking slow. But the other thing I just want to call out as well is, and said in the video, is that this is a circumstantial case. There is no body. There is no eyewitness to this murder. There is no murder weapon, right? Like those three things do not exist. And so what they are charging Jarvis with is first degree premeditated murder, I think is actually how the charge is actually reading. So what's really massive when you don't even have a body, right? You cannot have a motive and still have everything else, but to not have a body, that means that the prosecutors have to prove that first she's dead. They have to convince a jury of 12, in this case for the preliminary hearing, they have to convince the judge, but what they will have to prove at trial is that the girl is dead. Okay? When you don't have a body, his defense, how do you know she's dead? Right? Like that is key here. It's a big problem when you don't have a body. There are a lot of circumstances, in my non-legal lawyer opinion, that support that the girl's obviously dead and that he did it. But that is a thing that they're going to have to prove, that she's dead. Secondly, they have to prove, and they end up having a medical examiner speak to this, but they have to prove that she didn't die from natural causes. Like, did she have, you know, some issue that caused her to die? That's another thing that they have to like lead. The jurors can't have that doubt that, well, maybe she died from this or maybe she died from that, that she's dead and that it wasn't from some natural or other cause, that Jarvis is the one who killed her. And because they added that premeditation, that he premeditated killing her, that there is some planning involved in that. So those are the components that the state have to put across to this judge, which they obviously do, but also when you go to trial, those are the kind of things they're essentially saying that they're going to be able to prove. And so while for us, for people who are not the jurors and whatever, we can be obviously yes, but those are the things that I think, you know, that are just important.
Okay, Mr. Wright, you are going to testify.
Thank
Okay, so that's Jarvis. I want to give Jarvis another testimony.
Okay. As we discussed in our last hearing, we are only hearing one witness today in this case, correct?
That's correct, yes.
We have an agreed upon date starting back January 6th.
Yes,
I have blocked up January 6th, 7th, and 8th, and the people have, is it correct, 21 more witnesses? Possibly. Okay. Anything else that we discussed on this matter before we start the next meeting?
Not on this issue.
Okay, we are off the record. And I will allow for 15-minute break, so everyone can use the restroom, get some water, come back to the next thing.
I don't know why y'all couldn't hear me. I don't even remember what I said now. I don't remember what I said now. But while that's happening, y'all want to watch The Sister, or y'all done and we do this again tomorrow? Let me pull it up while I'm looking. Because you stay muting and stuff. Let me find it. Okay, let's keep going then. Yeah, so right now, this is a good point. Let's watch. I meant the aunt. What did I say? The sister? Sorry. It was Aunt Shannon and Nana. Nana Annette is who we watched. But what I want to play is the sister of Jarvis. That's what I want to play. This is a little bit skipping around. I kind of did this with my recap because I love when attorneys and schedules work out where people are in order, but that's not always what happens. And sometimes stuff is just a little bit out of order. But I think at this point, it's worth watching the sister because she's the only one who had emotion. And she's essentially up there telling on her brother. She's the only adult who seemed like they had some kind of like, bro, like somebody has to say something. Yeah, and then I can leave the text messages and some of the other testimony from the law enforcement in this case, because once they discover walking through how they were able to find some of Nazia's clothing, right? Using Jarvis's phone location data, checking where he was, and then going that route and then winding up at that river, like all of that starts to piece together and make sense. But for now, anyway, I'm jumping ahead. Let's watch the sister because, yeah. Shout out to her. Although I still have questions, but I mean, I can't imagine. Let me make sure it's up on the screen. Okay.
Raise your right hand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Watch your step. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lipton.
Thank you, Judge.
You're gonna speak into the mic and want you to hold it in your lap.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Could you please state your name for the record?
Tijuana Butts,
And how old are you, Ms. Butts?
46.
And do you know someone named Jarvis Butts?
Yes,
And how is it that you know him?
he's my brother.
Okay. And how old is Jarvis Butts?
42.
And do you know his birthday?
Yes,
When's his birthday?
November 21st, 1982.
And do you see Jarvis Butts in the courtroom today?
I saw him walking in.
Okay. And can you point to him and tell me the color of the clothing that he's wearing?
He has on, I believe it's dark green shirt. He's sitting behind the lady to the side of you.
And you're going over the record reflected when it says identified the defendant in this case?
So reflective. And just to be clear, you said I saw him walking in. You saw him when you were walking in or when he was walking in?
When I was walking in just now.
Thank you.
And Ms. Butts, where did you know Jarvis to work?
He worked at a shop on Warren and Neff, called Frank's, and then he moved to a shop on Hopper and Connors. I don't know the name of it.
And Ms. Butts, do you remember talking to Detroit police back on February 26, 2024?
Yes,
And what's the reason that you went and talked to Detroit police?
I had reason to believe that I saw Nazia the day she went missing.
Tell me about that. What makes you believe that you saw Nazia on the day she went missing?
Where do you want me to start this a lot?
So, from the very beginning, where is it that you think you saw Nazia?
At the shop on Harbor and Connors.
Okay, and whose shop is that?
My brother Jarvis Butts and his partner.
Okay. What's the reason you were at your brother's shop that day?
Something was wrong with the car that I was driving, and I just needed him to check it out to make sure it was safe for me to drive.
Do you recall about what time did you go to Jarvis's shop that day?
About 4 p.m., give or take a few minutes.
Okay, and around what time did you leave?
Somewhere between 6 and 6:30.
Okay. And what is it that you noticed while you were at the shop?
So it's a two car, like garage. So I was sitting outside of the shop in my car because they were working on another car on the inside. As I sat there for the time that I was there, I kept seeing a little girl get in and out of his truck, going to the gas station and going back to his car.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you right there. Whose car are we talking about?
My brother.
Okay, and what kind of car was it?
Believe a Cadillac Escalade.
Okay, do you remember what color?
Kind of like a pearl white, off white cream color.
Okay, and you described this as like a 2 garage shop?
Yes,
Okay, and I want to approach with people's exhibit 7.
Okay.
Now, Ms. Books, do you recognize what is it we're looking at in people's exhibit 7?
yes.
Okay, what is that?
That is the shop
Okay,
right in the middle.
and where at were you parked when you saw someone getting in and out of Jarvis's truck?
In front of the car doors of the garage right here, I was parked facing, I don't know what direction it is, but going towards Gratiot. I was like in front, but outside.
Okay, so you were kind of parked parallel with the road?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you draw a T where your truck was?
My car?
Yeah, your car was.
Can I?
Yes. And then put an arrow the way you were facing. And where is it where that Jarvis's truck was? Just put a J where Jarvis's truck was. And what way was his truck facing?
It was facing my direction, so the front was
Towards you. Okay, so put an arrow for that direction. Okay. Now, do you get a look at this little girl that you see getting in and out of his car?
I saw her, as she was walking. I never saw her face.
Did you see any clothing?
I did.
Okay. Did anything about the clothing stick out to you that you remember?
I just remember her having on a colorful jacket.
And what door, which side do you remember seeing her getting in and out of Jarvis's truck? Or did it change?
I don't really remember.
Okay, that's okay. So you said you mostly remember a jacket, a colorful jacket.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to show you what's marked as People's Exhibit 2, which is already admitted, and People's Proposed Exhibit 10. You want to approach?
Yes.
Thank you. Handing you what's marked as People's Exhibits 2 and 10. Okay. Do you recognize anything in those photos?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
What is it that you recognize?
Right here, this jacket.
And for the record, you're pointing up in channel 1, and you recognize this like pink colorful jacket?
Yes.
Okay. And that's in People's Exhibit 10? Your Honor, I move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 10 as Exhibit 10. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the jacket that you saw that day?
Yes.
I move for the proposed People's Exhibit 10.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay, it'll be admitted as People's Exhibit 10.
And in People's 2, is that also, where is the what you recognize People's Exhibit 2?
Looks like channel 2 here, maybe.
Okay, facing the back?
Yeah.
Okay. And you recognize the jacket in this photo too, right? Yes.
It's little blurry, but it looks the same.
Okay. And what about in channel 1 of exhibit 2?
It would be this one right here.
Okay, and it's fair to say that's the back of a jacket? It seems to be the back of a jacket? Okay, thank you. And you said that you saw this little girl with this jacket on getting in and out and going into the gas station?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know who this little girl was at the time?
No.
Okay. Is there a time that you ever get out of your car?
Yes.
And what do you do?
I needed to use the restroom, so I asked his partner if I could use the restroom. He told me to go and tell him in the gas station. And as I was walking towards the gas station, she was walking in front of me going into the gas station.
Okay. So about how far in front of you was she?
I would say maybe where the gentleman in the gray blazer is behind you. Maybe a little bit farther, I'm not really sure about that distance.
From where you are to him?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm really bad at estimates.
20, 25 feet?
Yeah, I would agree with about 20, 25 feet. And you said you never got a chance to see this little girl's face.
No.
Was there anything else about her that you can remember?
I just remember her being kind of small, like outside of just seeing her get in and out of the car. When I was walking towards her, I was like, she's tiny, and I just remembered the coat.
Okay. Tiny, like in what way? Like tiny, skinny, short?
Kind of skinny and short.
Okay. And did you ever ask Jarvis who the little girl was?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He told me, and I can't remember if it was this exact word, or he said it's my partner's niece, or he said it was King's niece.
Okay, but
But
you knew who he was referring to?
yes.
Okay. Did you think anything of it at the time?
No.
Okay. And what is it that made you think something? Was there a time where you thought something different?
Yes.
Okay. And what is it that made you think something different?
I received phone call, a video call from one of his kids' mom, and she told me about some things that happened on Valentine's Day, and then she sent me a video of a podcast about my brother.
Okay. And what did you do as a result of receiving those things?
I called Shannon and I asked her for Sergeant Jones' phone number.
Okay. And who's the Shannon that you called?
His kid's mom.
Shannon Harris?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do anything before you go and talk to Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. What is it that you do?
Okay, so after having a conversation with Shannon Harris and his other kid's mom, I was informed that his partner King, I guess something happened where the
Objection, this is hearsay.
Again, just so we're all caught up. So she obviously sees the little girl up there at the shop. Jarvis tells her that it's King's niece. Of course, Jarvis told King that it's his own niece. And so when one of Jarvis's, the mother of one of his children, calls this sister to tell her about something that happened on Valentine's Day, and then to also say, you should check out this podcast about your brother, that information plus talking with Shannon together leads her to say, I'm calling the police on my own damn brother. I don't know. Again, if you are in here and have been covering this more extensively than me, oh, Miss Tiff is saying it's Word on the Street podcast. I don't know the podcast, but Miss Tiff is more informed of this than me. So if it's Word on the Street podcast, what I got earlier, but I don't know. So if you do know, feel free to confirm. Oh, wait. Golden Girl is saying the podcast she's referring to is 7 Mile Radio on YouTube. He started covering this a month after she went missing. He spoke to the father before he passed. So I thought that there was, okay, well, regardless, the sister gets information about this podcast, but there's also something that happens on Valentine's Day that kind of sends her the podcast plus this Valentine's Day sends her on, I'm going to call the police. The podcast is Word on the Street, 7 Mile Radio. Okay. I should pin this because a lot of people were asking the name of the podcast. Let me just pin this comment so that if we come back to it, you guys can have it. Oh, my chat is catching up. It's a local podcast. Oh, where did it go? Did I lose it? Oh, sorry. Hold on. Oh, here it is. Okay. I just wanted to pin it. Is February 14th, is Valentine's Day the day that Shannon got the text messages? That's how I took it. I could be wrong. This is also why I'm always iffy about lives, because I like to validate and verify before I say something publicly that could be wrong. I thought it was something that happened. I thought that Valentine's Day is the day Shannon saw the text messages between Jarvis and Naziah. That's what I thought. But there could be something else that happened on Valentine's Day. I just don't know because, again, I'm not as well versed as a lot of other people. I'll keep going. Yeah, see, plans and pins. That's what I thought. I thought that that is the day that Shannon saw the messages. And so when sister finds out about the messages plus this podcast, she calls. And the reason why I believe that that matches is because after Naziah goes missing, the school system, the school police has the case. The police department doesn't get it until about February. And I believe when she calls, it's around, I believe all of that was happening. Okay, but this person is saying, JJ9919 says, I think it was something else that happened on Valentine's Day. Okay. I could be wrong. Let me tell you what. I could be wrong. That's just what I thought happened. And there is a date given later by the lead detective. That is what made me think that. The dates when I was watching seemed to match. But I don't want to spend too much time on it right now because I'll get on it later. Believe that. To verify what
It's not a statement yet, Judge.
Being
informed.
I'm not sure what she's even about to say.
Okay, just to the extent that it's informed of someone else's statement.
You might have to object in a couple moments.
You need to speak up,
If you could stand up and
please.
make your objection.
Yes, just objecting to the fact that she was informed of something. It appears this might be hearsay, but we'll see.
Yeah. Could you finish what you were saying? I don't know where you were going with this.
I'm trying to remember where I left. Okay, so after talking to Shannon Harris and his other kid's mom, I was informed of some things that had taken place I think Valentine's Day. So they told me that his
So
partner
objection.
King,
Okay, so
That
at
is-
this point, this is hearsay. They told me in the lack of personal knowledge the things that she was informed of.
can I finish?
1 second.
What?
What is an objection?
I'm
Everybody-
sorry.
The witness has to stop talking.
So based on those, do you go and talk to someone else?
Yes,
Okay. Who do you go and talk to?
his partner King
Okay. And where is it that you go and talk to King at?
at the shop on Harbor and Commerce.
Okay. And without telling me what King said, kind of describe what was your conversation about?
Well, I went to see what happened and what was going on. During that time, I told him that I had never seen any little girl at my brother's shop besides my nieces, outside of the little girl that I saw getting out of his truck that day.
Okay.
And you told this to who?
King.
Who is King again?
His business partner.
Okay, and do you know his government name?
I believe it's Cordero or something like that. I just always call him King.
So you went and told him that you hadn't seen anyone out at the shop besides your nieces and then the one little girl you saw that one day.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ask him about that little girl?
Well, I didn't ask him about it. After I said that to him, he told me.
Objection, Your Honor, this is gonna be hearsay again.
Judge, it's gonna go to the effect on the listening.
There could be an exception. I don't know what she's saying. So you might as well just stay standing up. Go ahead, say what you were gonna say.
After I mentioned to him that I had only saw my nieces and one particular little girl, he then told me that that was Naziah that I saw that day and I was there.
I would object then, given now that she has testified to that it is hearsay, that it is being introduced for the truth.
Judge, I would say that it's actually a statement of identification.
This is not an identification that she personally made, she's just being told.
And she saw Naziah that day, so it's.
She didn't know who it was, I mean, she had no idea who this was, that's
She
not
didn't know
her
who she was.
identification.
So it is hearsay.
Okay, so without saying what King said, were you informed of anything about a little girl that you saw on January 9th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay, and to your knowledge, Jarvis had told you that that was King's niece?
Yes.
Okay, and when you talked to King, did you have reason to not believe what Jarvis told you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know your nieces from Jarvis? Sorry. That is a poorly worded question. I am sorry. If that was your niece, would you have recognized her that day?
Yes.
Okay. And you did not recognize this little girl as your niece, did you?
No.
Okay. What is it that you did after speaking with King that day?
I called Shannon Harris and I asked her for Sergeant Jones' phone number.
Okay. And did you eventually talk to Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. What day was it that you went to the shop and saw the little girl?
Can I ask you a question? I didn't remember the exact day at that time.
Okay. What is it that makes you believe that it was Naziah Harris that you saw on that day?
I'm not quite sure how to answer what you're asking me. Like,
That may be a poorly worded question. I'm sorry. Can I just have 1 second, George?
Yes.
Ms. Butts, did you come to learn of the day that you had gone to Jarvis's shop by going through the locations on your phone?
yes.
And That's the date that you don't remember off the top of your head right now, but it is revealed in your phone locations.
Yes.
Let's see here. One second.
I think we're all keying in on the fact that this woman, right, hears this information and like immediately goes to Jarvis's business partner. You was here, you saw that little girl, and he's like, that was Naziah. Okay, that information plus whatever this Valentine's thing, I don't know for sure what it is, but whatever this Valentine's thing is, right? Plus, she know her brother. She know her brother. That was enough for her to say, I don't care what y'all doing. I'm calling the people on my brother. Like, I can't even imagine. Meanwhile, the aunt of Naziah, who also knows the same information about Jarvis, did nothing. Literally, she's his own. This is her brother she's talking about, and she did more than the family of that girl. Look at this woman all emotional about this. It's crazy.
When is it that you went through your phone locations to determine the date? Oh, I'm sorry, do you need a moment?
I believe it's February, I think the 24th or the 26th. I can't remember the exact date.
Okay, that's when you would have went through your phone to find those?
Yes.
Okay, and did you also go through that in your interview with Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. And did you give Sergeant Jones permission to look at your location data?
Yes.
Okay. And your phone kind of extraction in general? Like to go through your phone for the data?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing else, Judge.
Thanks, Beth. Definitely. So you go to the shop where your brother works periodically, right?
From time to time, yes.
You've been there prior to the day we've been talking about today?
Yes.
A couple times at least?
Yes.
And you've been back there after?
Yes.
But the day we've been talking about, that's the only time you ever saw a child there?
That was the only time I saw a child I didn't recognize.
Okay, so you had seen other children there before?
Yes.
Okay, when you say that you recognize, these are who exactly?
My
usually?
nieces.
And when you first arrived at the shop that day, Jarvis told you that he wasn't going to be able to work on your car?
No.
No? Did you ask him if he'd be able to?
Judge, I think this calls for hearsay. They can't admit statements of the defendant.
I'm looking more so for her own statement, actually.
For her
We'll
what?
start with her own statement.
Okay.
Did you ask him right away if he would be able to work on your car
I talked to him prior to coming to the shop.
before you arrived? You asked if he could work on your car that day?
I asked him to look at my car that day.
Okay. Did you arrive at the shop with the understanding that he would or would not be able to?
I arrived at the shop knowing that he was going to look at my car.
One moment.
Her having an attitude with her brother's defense team.
And was that via text or call or some other way?
Or the video call.
Okay, so a video call a little bit before you headed over?
Earlier in the day, maybe.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what time.
Okay, so that's how you decided that you'd go over later.
He told me I could come.
Judge, this is kind of all calling for hearsay in a backdoor way.
The response is hearsay. Not
Yeah.
that you necessarily asked for it, but it's hearsay.
Sure, we can keep it just her own. So to be clear, we don't need to talk about what he said to you, but you did a video call to him. And in that call, you asked if he could work on your car.
You
Right.
keep saying work on my car. I said look at my car.
Okay, look at your car, but you asked him personally in the video call.
Yes.
Okay, and that was maybe that morning,
I don't remember what time of day it was, but it was before I went to him.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and as you were saying, this day, I think you said you saw some other children there at other times, but this particular child, you only ever saw this child on this particular day.
Yes,
And the whole time you were there, from your testimony and from that police interview, you said that you never saw her face.
yes,
And then you did also see some news stories about this case.
yes.
Yeah, on the podcast that you talked about. Like, there were some podcasts.
I had already saw her on the news, but I did not know who she was.
Sure. But that was, by seeing those stories, that's how you started to think.
Well, I was sent the podcast after some other things that was told to me. That's when I received the podcast.
So initially, between the day you were at the shop, right, and then until you started to see that news, at first you didn't make this connection that maybe she was anyone in particular.
Not at all.
Okay. And then through seeing that news, those podcasts, that's when you started to think she
No,
was.
that's not the reason why I thought that.
No, but that's the timing, or it's not?
I guess you could say that.
That's when you started to, at least when you saw those things, that's when you started to wonder.
I was wondering before I saw the podcast.
Okay. In your police interview that you did,
Mhm.
did you tell them that at first when you saw the news, you didn't really make a connection because of not having seen her face?
Yes.
Okay. So that interview was on February 26th, 2024, right?
Yes.
And you were having some trouble remembering some of the specific details from January 9th at that point?
Not so much as remembering maybe the order I remembered it in.
Okay. Were there some times, at least though, when you were asked some questions and some details that you had to say, I can't remember some things?
I can't remember now.
Okay. And would you agree that at least
Like,
when it
it's been a minute.
okay. I
I
would just say,
probably did. I guess it would be safe to say because I didn't know.
okay, so you think it's safe to say that at that point in time, there were at least some details you were having a hard time, some questions you couldn't answer.
I can't disagree.
And it was pretty close in time, shortly before that police interview. That was when you first started to think that maybe this girl you'd seen at the shop had been Messiah Harris.
Can you repeat that?
So the first time you started to think that maybe that child, the one you saw, maybe that was Messiah Harris, that was pretty close in time to the police interview.
Maybe about a week or so before.
Okay, I believe, does it sound right to you that I think you told the police that it was on the Thursday prior to the interview?
Whatever the Thursday was after Valentine's Day.
Okay, so probably February 22nd. That was the Thursday prior to your interview.
Okay.
And then when you were at the shop, you primarily saw this child while she was inside a truck, right?
I didn't know it was a child in the truck until she kept getting out.
Okay, but when you saw her, she was in a truck?
I saw her getting out the truck, yes.
And were you inside your vehicle?
Yes,
You arrived in the daylight, right?
yes.
And that's, I think, what you're referring to, right? Initially, that's when you didn't yet know somebody was in the truck.
Can you say that again?
So at the beginning, when you first got there, right, you didn't know right away that somebody was in the truck.
No, I didn't.
I think you'd said before, because it was so light outside, it was a bit difficult to see into the truck.
I wasn't really paying attention to his truck. He was outside of it.
And then in your police interview, you referred to then seeing a light in the truck, and that's when you started to see somebody?
Yeah, that's when the door opened.
Okay, so there's a light turned on, and at the same time, a door opened?
That's the reason the light is on.
Okay, because the truck door was open. Yes.
Sure.
And you said that you saw a couple different times her go back and forth to the gas station,
Yes,
and only at one of those different times you were on your way to the gas station as well.
yes.
But for that whole time, she remained in front of you?
When I was going into the gas station, she was in front of me. When I walked into the gas station, she went to the left, I went straight, and over to the right.
For that walk over to the gas station, was it getting dark at that point?
It was already dark.
Okay. And while she was in the truck, you were not sure exactly which part of the truck this was?
I can't remember, no.
Her attitude is making me love her even more.
So you understood initially that when you arrived, you'd probably have to wait at the shop sometime?
Yes,
I think you referred to just one other car he worked on first. Is that all there was before you?
it was actually another vehicle out there, but I don't pay my brother to work on my car, so I had to wait until he was done making his money. So I
Sure,
waited.
sure. So do you know how many cars he worked on before he got to you?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you know if there were any other customers present in person?
I did see someone, I can't remember what kind of car it was in, but it was, I believe, a gentleman, that needed to pull into the garage because Jarvis asked me to move my car out the way because I was blocking the garage, so yes.
Was this someone you recognized at all?
No,
So in total, other than Jarvis or who you referred to as King, was there anyone present that you recognized that day?
no, just King and my brother.
So as you said, the sun set while you were there. Do you know about how long it was light out before it got dark?
Well, I got there about 4 o'clock. It didn't take long for it to get dark. I don't remember the exact time, but it got dark pretty fast.
Okay, and then other than when you went to the gas station, were you always at the shop?
What do you mean?
So did you go anywhere else?
No, I never left. All I did was move my car when he asked me to move my car. And once the driveway was clear, I back where I was. I didn't go anywhere else.
Okay. And when you were present, not going to the gas station, were you always inside your vehicle?
Yes,
Were your doors open or closed?
closed.
Okay, and were your windows up or down?
They were up unless I asked him something.
Okay, so sometimes if you needed to communicate, you just open the window.
Or I would call him, yeah. Yes.
And you were saying today that at one point you did speak to Jarvis about who this girl was.
Yes.
And when you were talking to the police about this, you had said that you weren't sure exactly what his response was.
What I said was I wasn't sure of the word.
Sure, that's what I mean. That
Okay.
You told the police, right, that it might have been King's niece, or maybe he said it's my homeboy's niece.
He said it was his partner or King's niece, but he definitely said it was someone else's niece.
Okay, I mean, does it sound right to you that you used the term homeboy's niece with the police?
I probably did.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying to me.
And then that's what you continued to think at first, right? At first, you just believed that it was someone else's niece.
Yes,
Specifically, you thought it was probably King's niece,
that's what I was told.
which I think as we established, right, King is the same person as Cordell, right?
Yes.
And then after that, you would listen to some of these podcasts and to the news.
I listened to his kid's mother and then I watched the podcast.
Okay, so those are some things that happened.
Yes.
And then once you started to have this different information you were gathering, then you kind of started to look into it for yourself,
Yes.
do some of your own investigation.
Yes.
And then at one point following that, that's when you decided to go back to the shop
Yes.
to speak to Cordell
Yes.
and to discuss some of these things you've been learning with him.
Yes.
You and Jarvis are not particularly close.
I wouldn't say that we're really distant. I don't see him every day. I don't talk to him every day, but he's my brother.
He's your brother, but you don't have a very close relationship, or?
He's my brother.
What about with his children? Are you close with his children?
Some of the ones that I know.
So he has 13 kids, right?
I have no idea.
Do you have an idea of around how many kids he has?
A lot.
Do some of them live with different mothers?
Yes.
And you don't spend time with all of them?
No.
So which ones do you know?
I don't want to say their names. They're minors.
Okay.
I don't want to disclose their identity.
Could you just give like a number instead? How many do you know?
I'm counting.
This woman is so pissed. She pissed at her brother and she
About 8.
attorney.
So when you say 8 that you know, does that mean 8 that you have like personal contact with?
I have.
When is the last time that you've seen any of them?
About 2 months ago.
Were you and Jarvis raised by your grandmother?
For the most part.
And were there some events surrounding her death that related to your relationship with Jarvis that impacted some things?
No.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Can you redirect?
Yes, Judge.
She giving that eye to her brother.
Ms. Butts,
She like
you said
y'all.
there was
y'all
another
barking
reason,
at
there's
the
a
wrong-
different reason that she thought that it was Messiah that she would saw that day. When you were starting to compile, or when you talked to Shannon Harris, and then
Wait, because I need to say this. That lady ended that questioning right at the right time. Because if she would have asked any further questions, that seemed like that was gonna go left real quick. It was her best bet to probably end there. Because that wasn't going, that was something. What happened right there was a something. She was finna go off. Okay.
you got the podcast. Before that, you said there was other reasons why you had thought that was Messiah.
So, am I?
Yes.
can I speak for-
What is
okay,
that? Yes.
So, at the time, I didn't know. Once I realized that it was a possibility that I saw her, there were several reasons that led me to believe that it was a possibility I was there. And I didn't want to get into detail as far as what I knew before the podcast. But if you would like, I would explain to you why I thought these things.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Can we approach? Yes.
Girl, tell her, honey. She said if you would like, we can go there. Oh, they approach outside. Well, y'all, what they're talking about is February 14th. That are whatever it is, this woman found out. They all know what it is. If they're not ready for it to come out. Look at this. Look at this. I'm sure this is the most internally consistent thing. Like, look at this. That's her.
Can you get some water? Can you get some water? Please. It's gonna be all right.
Sir, what are you taking notes on? What are you writing? Kiara said, take the pen. You don't even deserve to write. That's not funny, but that's a funny thing to say.
You need to do some more?
No, this is it.
I got like 2 more.
I get it.
Okay, we are back on the record. Ms. Butts, you are still under oath. Ms. Ripley, go right ahead.
Thank you. So, Ms. West, what's the sources of these reasons that you have? Are these things that you know from your personal knowledge? Are these things that you observe yourself?
I'm sorry. Repeat that.
So these reasons that you were thinking of, what are the sources of them? Is it somebody told you something? Is it something that you saw yourself, you observed, or a coupling of that?
I would say a bit of both. Things that I was told and things that I heard.
Okay. Were there heard from Jarvis?
No.
Okay. Were these things that you had already known prior
Prior to.
to thinking that was Messiah that you saw?
I'm sorry, I'm confused on the question.
So are these things the sources that you have for these reasons? Are they like things that you have personal knowledge of, or are they things that somebody told you about?
These were things that I was told. I'm trying to understand the question that you're asking me.
Ms. Ripley, you're referring to the question before we went into the sidebar about her leading up to believing that it was possibly Nasiah Harris at the shop, correct?
Yes.
Does that help clarify?
Okay.
What are you questioning?
Okay, so those reasons, those things, are those things that you had known before? Are they based on your observations, or?
Well, these were things that I was told. And after asking the questions that I needed to ask, I came up with the conclusion that it was a possibility that Nasiah was the little girl that I saw that day.
Thank you. You said that when you were parked at Jarvis's shop, that it was getting dark out.
Yes.
Okay. That darkness, is that maybe the reason why the color on the jacket stood out?
Well, the jacket didn't stand out until I was walking into the gas station behind her because I wasn't really paying attention to what she had on. I just kept seeing her get in and out of the truck, going in the gas station and coming back to the truck. And that's what caught my attention.
Okay, so the movement is what attracted you to it at first.
Yes.
Okay. Nothing for the judge. Nothing for the judge.
Okay, Ms. Butts, you are done testifying. Watch your step coming out of the witness box. Okay, one last witness for today, correct?
Yes, Judge. At this time, people would call.
All right. The next witness is his fiance. No, that's not the fiance. That's the baby mom. That's his other, the mother of his other child, whose car he ended up using. She's next. I'm trying to figure out. It's a little late though. My children are home. I need to go be a mom. So I want to pick back up tomorrow. I'm not sure the time yet, but I'm thinking maybe I'm on PST. So maybe like 9 or 10 my time PST. I want to pick back up. That said, I think the reason, I'm still a little convinced that it's the messages, because the message, okay, Rainey is saying, can they not talk about it because it's hearsay? Yeah, that line of questioning, right? When they're like, did you see it yourself? She's not able to testify to whatever this information is because it's not firsthand. So it would be hearsay. But when later on, actually, I think we already saw it. The sister, the school police had the case from January. It gets turned over from what I remember, and I don't want to be wrong. I'll double check myself. But when she calls the police, they had already been in contact with Nasiah Harris's family because they were coming to get her tablet. All of that's happening around the same time. So when it gets turned over to Detroit police on Valentine's Day. Like that's when that it gets turned over from them. And the school, and I'll play the school police officer's testimony, but he literally is like, the police department reached out to us to say, what's up with this case? And we were like, oh, actually, we have nothing, essentially. But it's all happening on February 14th around that time. So I'm not picking back up. Are you caught up with me right now when you're asking me this? I'm stopping at the sister. I can pick back up with the mother of his child, and then the school resource, the police officer, and then probably the text messages is what I'm thinking. I mean, it can depend too. I'm not opposed to doing the whole thing. But anyway, there's obviously a lot of still open questions about this case. This, again, is the preliminary hearing. So this was to decide if the case should go to trial. This is not the actual trial. And so there's, I'm sure, going to be even more to come in at trial. The thing I think that'll probably be worth noting is that Jarvis's previous history those kind of things won't be allowed in. They won't be able to be like, yeah, see, he molested this girl and he got charged with this case and this case as well. That would be prejudicial, right? That would prejudice him. So that kind of stuff, the jurors theoretically won't, unless there's something that comes up, but they theoretically won't know that, yeah, he is the offender who's already offended people, because that would prejudice him. Rika Baby said, do your investigation and let us know what happened on Valentine's Day. It seems, I'm just answering a few things before I get out of here. The grandmother reported to the school the following day after Neziah didn't come home. Grandmother tells the school Neziah didn't come home. They do their investigation for about a month, but they make no leads. I'll play his testimony tomorrow, so you will see. But he was like, basically, they got nothing out of it. And so at some point, and I what I can't remember or I don't know is what triggered Detroit Police Department to call the school to be like, yo, what's up with this case? And they were like, oh, actually, we haven't done anything. That, and I think it has to do with this woman, these text messages. I think that's all related, but I don't know. Anyway. All right. Oh, and that's the other thing. They did nothing because he was about to retire. That's the other part of this. Okay. I love it. All right. I'm getting off of here. What things I will say before I leave, don't do anything to make me make an I'm not a lawyer but video on you. Okay. The other thing is, we probably all know somebody. There's somebody you know that's like, if you heard a story, you'd be like, that's not surprising, right? Yo, watch your kids. Watch your kids around people. Okay. I'm going to be on my high horse and be a mama right now, but watch your kids around people. Don't let these people, if you don't feel right about that, stand on that. And don't let your kids around them. The reason that she called the police is because she knew. She knew what was up. She did not feel okay about that. Trust your gut, especially when it comes to your children. Trust your gut. I have 2 daughters and they ain't finna, I don't care who you are. They not finna just be around you if I have an issue. It's just not finna happen. Anyway. Have a great Monday night. Come holler at me tomorrow. Let's do this again tomorrow. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things. All right. Have a good night. Oh, wait. There was somebody sent me $20. $20. Keita G says he is a vile, disgusting animal. For this little girl to text like that with him tells me she was exposed to this type of behavior a long time ago. Sad all around. 100%. Oh, and Celeste is telling me to in sync. If you're my Patreon, you know the usually way I sign off is I do. Because it ain't no lie, baby. Bye, bye, bye. That's the way I sign off. I don't know if that's appropriate given the context of this, but all right. Good night. Have a good evening. Hug your kids. Tight.